Well, yesterday was Halloween. It is autumn. Squirrel celebrated it in her usual way by attending mass. Some sort of mass. Sweet Pea celebrated it by just editing her manifesto. I don't know where Prismo went. She's keeping a low profile. Black cats have had a scary time on Halloween historically. I wanted to do a Halloween video and I got the books together for it. And then Halloween ended. Let's call these Halloween books that you should read sometime before next year to get ready for next Halloween. To quote the fake jack-o'-lantern that sat on my parents' porch for many Halloweens when I was growing up, "Happy Halloween, ha ha ha." What I did was go through every one of my sections of different topics or subjects. There's Prisma. You escape those kids in the Led Zeppelin shirts? Went through every section and of the book collection, and I picked the most Halloween relevant book I felt of every section that I could easily pick in a short amount of time without thinking about it too much. Let's take a look. What is this video even? What is this channel? I'm sorry, everybody. You deserve better. Maybe, I don't know. Let's start with this one. This is from the Penguin Classics subsection of the trade size novels and short fiction section. And this is a granddaddy of us all when it comes to American writing, particularly American creepy writing. Here we have Washington Irving, who was the first paid author to make a living solely as an author in the United States of America. Pretty cool. And The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and what's the guy that sleeps? Rip Van Winkle. Wrote some really memorable, iconic stories that draw heavily from the folk culture and tales of the region in which he lived. I want to say New England. He's credited with inventing the short story as a distinct literary genre. What? If I knew that, I forgot it. I feel like it's something I've forgotten and relearned. But anyway, Washington Irving, good writer, somebody I've always meant to read more of. An important figure in the history of American lit. Good Halloween and Halloween season reading, of course. Not too fresh, not too original, not too unexpected of a recommend. Some of these others are going to be a little weirder. Here we have the excellent Leaving Tinkertown by Tanya Ward Goodman from the memoir section. Tinkertown is this amazing folk art creation of a place up in the Sandia Mountains, created by her dad, Ross Ward, whose art I still see around. In fact, there's a sign I've walked by on Wantagh Boulevard here in Albuquerque, and I'm like, that's Ross Ward's handwriting. He was a I can recognize it. He was a hand painting sign maker, and he was a carny before that. And this book is so great. So it's got things that are relevant to costumes and spectacle and living life a little different. And it almost has an autumnal color scheme here to go with the theme of leaving. Yeah, why not read it around Halloween time? Who cares? Do whatever you want. It's a good book, and I think it is somewhat relevant. Here's from the children's picture book section. This series was such an influence on me as a kid. I loved the Animals Do the Strangest Things books. But this insects one is good for Halloween because you can imagine them crawling all over you. They're on you right now. Do you feel that itch? That weird itch? I think that's a bug. Creepy crawlies, right? When I was a long-term science substitute teacher at Van Buren Middle School here in town, the hardest job I've ever had in my life, we were watching the documentary Microcosmos about insects. And because I was watching it with all these classes, I watched it for like 2 weeks straight in parts, 6 different times overall with all these different classes while yelling at children to be quiet and stop attacking me the whole time. We're going to report you for making us see snails mating. You're sick. But that documentary is so funny because, I mean, it's kind of amazing because it's filmed with these really like special lenses that they made just for the movie so they can film insects like, in 35 millimeter and make them look spectacular and huge. But after all this like fun exploring of bugs in the movie, then it goes to mosquitoes at the end, this mosquito rising up from a pond. And it's like, don't forget though, insects are also terrible. And you hate them, and they spread disease. I think that's a very funnily constructed documentary in that way, and I've not seen much analysis online about it. Anyway, these are great books. Love them. Raise your kids with them if you can, or something like them. Sex Do the Strangest Things. I have a very good larger series that I still have. Origami. Okay, this is from the booklets section. What does this have to do with Halloween, Mike? You're wasting our time. Well, yeah, but what if your costume has like a flower on it? Or like a bird, or like a cool little accessory here. What's going on over there, you two? I think a number of these things could be cool. parts of a DIY Halloween costume. Why not? Okay, here's another no-brainer. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Apparently we only have the first volume anymore. We used to have all three. The classic Alvin Schwartz drawings. I mean, I can't believe they reissued this series with cartoony drawings. Like, that was why everyone loved it. That and that these stories retell urban legends. So this is a great one to have to read with your family to get them freaked out or something if you have younger people in your family. And maybe also get them into urban legends. Okay, collected by Alvin Schwartz, drawings by Stephen Gammell. Sorry, I gotta get my facts straight. Stephen Gammell is the great artist. And the movie didn't draw from these illustrations either. And it picked some of the dumber, less believable ones. My kids kind of liked it for a minute, but then immediately forgot about it. The movie. Oh, blood. Halloween's all about blood. Blood, blood, blood. Here's the first real big scientific treatise on the circulation of the blood and other writings. Well, maybe not the first, but Harvey's Movement of the Heart and Blood in Animals, 1628, known as The Circulation of the Blood, is the most important work in the history of medicine. Its publication represented great originality within the context of traditional learning by asserting that the blood traveled along a previously unrecognized circular route of its own. Yeah, you see all these horror film YouTube channels talking about how they love the blood and stuff in the movies they review. But how many of them have read this? You know, slacking. Witchcraft in the Southwest. This one was recently brought to my attention again by a friend who came back into my life recently and likes this one. This is a cool book. Good old Mark Simmons. Witchcraft in the Southwest, Spanish and Indian Supernaturalism on the Rio Grande. Old usage of the word Indian, being Native American. Often used by historians, too, to kind of differentiate periods and so on. Nobody was saying cowboys and Native Americans back in the day, but I read this one a long time ago, and I remember it's great. I love lore. Read a bit the lore about where you live. It's a really worthwhile thing. My podcast, City on the Edge, has an episode I still love looking back. Check it out on SoundCloud. It was a Halloween episode, but somebody said, I heard this creepy noise in my backyard. Do you think you know what it might have been? And we just collected all the relevant New Mexico lore that it might have been, and it was really fun. Witchcraft in the Southwest. Oh, yeah. Heard about another cool book called Brujeria, too, that's supposed to be good. That one's by Nazario Garcia, who I've also met. We're on the same cable access talk show viewed by like 10 people in the same episode. Along with this guy talking about the Balloon Fiesta who was literally there to promote an old out-of-print book he had written. I'm like, your book's out of print. Why are you doing press for it? It's just nice to be invited. Okay, here's a weird pick, but still relevant to Halloween. The Death and Life of Great American Cities by Jane Jacobs. This is one of the most famous works of urban studies, but a lot of it is about how, our society has been completely rebuilt for cars. It's all car town. And as a result, we've become more and more separate and pushed apart. And I mean, how many people are talking about how no kids went trick-or-treating this year, or how trunk-or-treating is replacing trick-or-treating? All tied up with this stuff. So if you want to be that annoying nerd in your Halloween group that brings up the facts next year, read this. I also recommend the book Communitas, which is one of my favorite urban studies. They're at City of Quartz from Mike Davis, which is LA-centric, but still very good. About how cars transformed society. Virginia Woolf, this is from the single authors section. This is from the nonfiction section. Virginia Woolf Orlando, about somebody who changes identities over the centuries and lives for a long, long time. It's quite fantastical, really. You okay, squirrel? You look like you're upset. I'm sorry. Do I need to play with you more? I think she's been wanting to go out lately. Sorry, kitty. I had to give him some cat spray and the sound scared him. Got catnip in it. Anyway, Virginia Woolf. Yeah, why not? Look, Halloween color even. Come on. You're choosing things for aesthetic reasons. That's why I picked this one from the anthology section. Doesn't this look like a colorful box of bonbons? A kind of brilliant cover that leaves an image and an imagistic impression in your mind without having any images. Cover designed by John Gall. The Anchor Book of New American Short Stories. I got this because it's edited by Ben Marcus, and I was on a real kick for that guy for a while. He's great. Particularly love The Age of Wire and String, which I think I no longer own. Bummer. Or do I? I hate when I get rid of stuff. Did I really lose the Ben Marcus during the Purge? What's that about? What was I thinking? I must have given that to someone that I really thought it would benefit. Like an insane person. One from the New Mexico section. Heroes, Hexes, and Haunted Halls, about some ghostly New Mexico stuff. Particularly if you live in New Mexico, check it out. Or if you just want to read something creepy before next Halloween. You now have a lot of time to get ready to do these readings. From the Art Crit, Lit Crit, Film Crit section, 2 October issues of The Believer. Probably something Halloween-like in one of these. Maybe. Tiny. Oh, he's got some comics. Well, we can only conclude this magazine is run by fundamentalist Christians that don't believe in Halloween. Haha, not true. I also looked in the closet books section to see if I could find an old journal that had something about Halloween. But toward the end of every October of my life, apparently, I just quit writing because I got busy with stuff. And it seemed to skip Halloween in every single one I picked up. Why? Okay, I'm trying to remember my mind yesterday. Why did I put this one? This is from the utility section, The Time Trap, How to Get More Done in Less Time. I guess that's a somewhat Halloween-ish presence. You're trapped in time. There's probably some scary movie of something like that. Really stretching it there, Mike. Long day's journey into night. A lot of people have to wear their Halloween costumes all day long, right? That's the long day's journey. Finally, they get to the night where they can go out and be weird, walk around, and get candy. Watch the movie Reds for a great portrayal of Eugene O'Neill. It's a play. Oh, wait. Yeah, this is from the drama section. Here's from the philosophy section. What does it all mean? Oh, I think I put this one because this is like a real horror, you know? Everyone loves to be scared by a guy with a chainsaw, but do you want to be scared by this question? You know? Even scarier. There's another no-brainer from the horror section, Dracula. Pretty crazy to write a book and invent a whole genre. I know there was Carmella before this, which Hammer Studios adapted into The Vampire Lovers, which is a good 70s vampire movie. But I mean, this book led to that movie and a whole genre. I used to have a book just on vampire films, and it was just like a family tree that all traced back to Grandpa Dracula, basically. Don't forget, it's an epistolary novel. It's written in letters. It's pretty cool. Loosely inspired by Vlad the Impaler. Transylvanian mythology, of course. Romanian, all that. This really, aside from George Washington being dressed up like a weird John Wayne Gacy clown here, I don't know why. I think, yeah, this book is, you know, it's just good. It's Halloween, like, sure, why not? Putting on different guises, different forms, different shapes. Maybe it's here for the same reason Orlando is. This is from the poetry section. By the way, I put another one from the horror section, and this is the only section that got 2, but like, it's kind of relevant, right? Halloween. This is about a vampire bat invasion of New Mexico. I read it a long time ago and enjoyed it. It's been adapted into a movie. If you want to get creeped out, why not? Sci-fi section, just because of its title, honestly. October Country. The October Country, good old Ray Bradbury. Yeah, this is perfect stuff to read for the season. He's one of those authors people break out at this time of year. Right? This has The Scythe in it, which I'd love to adapt into a movie someday, one of my favorite Ray Bradbury short stories. Here's another genuinely eerie book. This is from the literary fiction paperback, mass market paperback section. This is one of my favorite books. Love this book, Montana Gothic by Dirk Van Sickle. His only published novel. He has another nonfiction book called The Ecological Citizen that I have. And there used to be an ebook online that I never bought that apparently was an interview with him. This book also inspired a long-running literary journal of the same name out of Montana called Montana Gothic that's also been collected into books, but there's only one Montana Gothic. I'd love to turn this into a prestige miniseries. I think it's the best meditation on place I've ever read, honestly. And look at that amazing cover. The hardcover has an incredible cover too, but I gave it away to a friend like a fool. But the chapters are all like, they're kind of interconnected short stories, but they build up in a way. It's not a fix-it novel. Sometimes the chapter will be connected because a gun from one chapter turns up in another. Sometimes a young person who's a main character in one chapter will be old and a side character in another. It's funny. It's great. It's like Cormac McCarthy meets, who wrote True Grit? Charles Portis. It's just a really lyrical sensibility. I love this book. And the spine, I dyed red with my own blood. So that's also Halloween appropriate. Another section did get to from the antique book section. And these are both in there because, you know, Halloween is one of those times where we don't blink at death. This one was Carl Taylor's only book, published posthumously after his February 1936 murder. I bought this copy for $75 off eBay a long time ago. This book, which I also bought online, is the book he was reading when he was shot, when he was killed in Barbary. So, just read this. He was eating popcorn and reading this. So if you ever want to set the scene by the fire in a small cabin, and Modesto Trujillo came in the door. Probably fired 3 times. 1 hit the mantle. I've seen the mark. 2 hit Carl Taylor. He fell into the fire and was burned. A scholar of that murder. I've written about it more than anybody. Scroll way back in City on the Edge archives, and episodes 2 and 3 are about that murder and include a 10,000 word piece I wrote about it. Penitentes were blamed. Would penitente themed costumes be great for Halloween? Yeah, but nobody white should try that. That would be culturally insensitive. What if? Writing exercise for fiction writers. Oh, this one's from the writing section. That's Halloween appropriate because Halloween asks these questions, right? What if? What if there were zombies? What if you were a superhero? What if you had a different identity? What if you were a vampire? This would be a good one to build a writing group around. I had a writing group for a long time, and we used Ursula K. Le Guin's book, Steering the Craft, and I generated so much fiction. I wrote so much during that time. I found a file, and I'm like, I could have a book of collected fiction if I was famous enough to have my odds and ends collected ever. Anyway, this one's old and out of print. Track it down if that intrigues you. I think nonfiction and fiction writers, too, should all read the same stuff. You know, we can all benefit from learning the tricks of the trade. This was given to me by a very cool adult student when I taught at this for-profit college a long time ago. She wrote, documentary The Cleveland Captives, What Really Happened on the BBC. I should watch that. Chapter 16 I had to skip, too disturbing. Well, good for her. This is about those women in Cleveland that were held in a house. So this is a gear shift because this is from the nonfiction mass market paperback case. This is straight up true crime. The idiot neighbors that were like, yeah, we saw like women on dog leashes getting walked around and kicked around out in the yard once in a while by a guy. Not our business. Haley was that student's name. She was really cool. I wonder what she's up to. I thought her politics were a little muddled sometimes, but still. This guy says John Glatt is one of the finest true crime craftsmen right today. Okay. Last but not least, from the weird book section. Honestly, I could have picked that whole section for the Halloween case. See also horror and parts of sci-fi. Weird books. I loved this book growing up. I think my parents got it because they had a subscription to Reader's Digest, and so they always had Reader's Digest books around. But this is so cool to collect folklore and legend. Wherever you live, you should know about where you live, you know? I gained a lot from this, and many things from it stayed with me, and it probably shaped me forever. Definitely a good Halloween read. Read this whole thing before the start of next Halloween, so you'll be actually ready. This year, you weren't ready. You didn't even know it, but you weren't. And I'll give you the lore you need. Like Betsy Ross and her rampage. You don't hear about that. Loved PCP. People forget that about her. The Bell Witch. That's a classic. I think that's what A Haunting in Connecticut 2 Ghosts of Georgia is about. What a desperate attempt to cash in on an existing could-be franchise. What do we call the second Haunting in Connecticut movie? Or maybe I saw a different movie about the Bell Witch. Anyway, Bob Fox, South Carolina's Robin Hood. Cool. Coronado legend. Coronado and the Turk, fictional history. Got to look at the kitchen books. There's probably something in Grill It Vegetarian that would make it a nice Halloween feast. You could call party supplies in your local Yellow Pages. Yeah, I'd say if you take one book away from this recommend list, maybe this or Montana Gothic. But, who cares? Well, this would have been a good one from the weird books section, too. The Winchester Mystery House in California. Built by a woman who thought ghosts were chasing her in revenge for her husband inventing the rifle, basically. Mysteries of the Unexplained. That'd be another good Reader's Digest one. Turning the books to slumber until next Halloween. There's actually a Marvel series based on that book. Horror. Sci-fi. Literary mass market fiction. Yes. Horror magazines, books. Meet Virginia. Nonfiction. Southwest. Science. Booklets. Books for younger readers. Pure books. Science fiction. Memoir. That's that, Sweet Pea. We're done, Prismo. That was it. That was the whole video. Tell the people to donate to the PayPal, okay? That's your job. Tell everyone to donate to the PayPal. I'll put a QR code up maybe as the image. Or just look at Michael Farrell Smith on PayPal. Look in the About section on the YouTube channel to tell you how to spell that. In a tight money situation right now. But good things are happening in life. I'm going to be going back to school for teaching so I can get a better job and not be destitute my whole life. Being Elvis. Oh, it's like teaching classes. Okay, well, Halloween. Hope your Halloweens were good, you know. Like this book from the display books, The American Way of Death. I read The American Way of Death Revisited, a newer version. But that's a beautiful OG copy. These books are just displayed. I mean, I still want to own them, but... Colors of Autumn. Ben Stiller driving a bus. All right, well, take care, everybody. Hope you're doing good out there. The channel's almost to 600 followers, and it's only taken like 10 months. Is that good? More black cat motifs for Halloween. All right, but it's over. The kid made that. Now we're moving on. Happy Halloween, folks. Have a good one. I mean, happy November 1st, because Halloween is over. But I hope your Halloween was a good one, and that the spirit of Halloween lives on in you, because it's one of the better holidays. Alrighty, from me and my familiars, take care.